Welcome to this model. This video is all about the feeder losses and misalignment losses and link budget calculation. Losses will occur in the connection between the receive antenna and the receive proper. Such losses will occur in the connecting waveguides, filters and couplers. And these will be denoted as receiver feeder losses or RFL. And the RFL values are added to FSL equation, and similar losses will occur in the filters, couplers and waveguides connecting the transmit antenna to the high power amplifier output. However, provided that EIRP is stated, this equation can be used without knowing the transmitter feeder losses. These are needed only when it is desired to relate EIRP to the HPA output. And the next what we are going to see is about antenna misalignment losses. When a satellite link is established, the ideal situation is to have the earth station and satellite antenna aligned for maximum gain, as you can see in this diagram, right? So there are two possible sources of off-axis loss, one at the satellite and one at the earth station. The off-axis loss at the satellite is taken into account by designing the link for operation and the actual satellite antenna contour. And the off-axis loss at the earth station is referred to as the antenna pointing loss. Antenna pointing loss are usually only a few tenths of decibels. And in addition to the pointing losses may result at the antenna from misalignment of the polarization direction. These are in addition to the polarization losses, and the polarization misalignment losses are usually small, and it will be assumed that the antenna misalignment loss denoted by AML include both pointing and polarization losses resulting from the antenna misalignment. And you should note that the antenna misalignment losses have to be estimated from the statistical data based on the errors actually observed for a large number of earth stations. And of course, the separate antenna misalignment losses for the uplink and downlink must be taken into account. And the next losses, fixed atmospheric and ionospheric loss. Atmospheric gases result in losses by absorption, and these losses usually amount to a fraction of the decibel, and in subsequent calculations the decibel value you can note it as AA, atmospheric absorption loss, right? So values obtained from some locations, note that we can note it that these values differ for different areas, okay? And the ionospheric introduces a depolarization loss, and in the subsequent calculation we will denote it as PL while calculating the link power budget equation. So now let us move on to the budget equation. The EIRP can be considered as the input power to the transmission link. Now that the losses for the link have been identified, and the power at the receiver, which is the power output at the link, may be calculated simply as EIRP minus losses plus GR, where the loss quantity is the receiver antenna gain, and you can note that the decibel addition must be used. The major source of loss in any ground satellite link is the free space spreading loss, that is FSL. And this is a basic link bar budget equation. This was 12th equation, okay? And this equation has taken into account these losses only. However, the losses also must be taken into account. These are simply added to FSL, and the losses for clear sky conditions are losses is equal to FSL plus RFL plus AML plus AA plus PL. So the decibel equation for the received power is then PR is equal to EIRP plus GR minus losses, where PR is the received power in dB watts, EIRP is the equivalent isotropic radiated power in dB watts, FSL is the free space spreading loss in dB, and RFL is the receiver feeder loss in dB, AML is the antenna misalignment loss in dB, and AA is the atmospheric absorption loss in dB, and PL is the polarization mismatch loss. Now let us see an example. And in this example, they have given the satellite link operating at 14 gigahertz has receiver feeder losses of 1.5 dB and a free space loss of 207 dB. The atmospheric absorption loss is 0.5 dB and the antenna pointing loss is 0.5 dB. Depolarization losses can be neglected and you have to calculate the total link loss for clear sky conditions. So we know the equation for total link loss, which is the sum of all these losses. So losses is equal to FSL plus RFL plus AA plus AML, which is equal to 207 plus 1.5 plus 0.5 plus 0.5, which is 209.5 dB. And we have to consider the system noise also while calculating the budget equation. The received power in the satellite link is very small in the order of picowatts. So this by itself would be no problem because amplification could be used to bring the signal strength up to an acceptable level. However, electrical noise is always present at the input, and unless the signal is significantly greater than the noise, amplification will be of no help because it will amplify signal and noise to the same extent. In fact, the situation will be worsened by the noise added by the amplifier. The major source of the electrical noise is an equipment is that which arises from the random thermal motion of the electrons in various resistive and active devices in the receiver. Okay, and hence the thermal noise is also generated in the lossy components of the antennas, and thermal noise is picked up by the antennas as radiation. The available noise power from the thermal source can be given as PR is equal to K into Tn into Bn, where Tn is the Tn is the equivalent noise temperature and Bn is the equivalent noise bandwidth, and K is the Boltzmann constant, which is given by 1.38 into 10 power minus 23. With the temperature in kelvins and bandwidth in hertz, the noise power will be in watts. The noise power bandwidth is always wider than the minus 3 dB bandwidth determined by the amplitude frequency response curve, and a useful rule of thumb is that the noise bandwidth is equal to 1.12 times the minus 3 dB bandwidth, or the Bn is equal to 1.12 into B minus 3 dB, right? And the bandwidth are in hertz. And the main characteristics of thermal noise is that it has flat frequency spectrum, that is the noise power per unit bandwidth is a constant. The noise per unit bandwidth is termed as the noise power spectral density, and denoting this by N naught, you can write as N naught is equal to Pn divided by Bn, which is equal to Ktn in joules. The noise temperature is directly related to the physical temperature of the noise source, but is not always equal to it. This is the noise temperature of various sources which are connected together can be added directly to give the total noise. And now let us look at an example. And in the example they have given that an antenna has a noise temperature of 35 degree Kelvin and is matched into a receiver which has a noise temperature of 100 Kelvin. And you have to calculate the noise power density and the noise power for a bandwidth of 36 megahertz. So directly by substituting, you can write the value of N naught as, that is noise power density as N naught is equal to 35 plus 100 into 1.38 into 10 power minus 23. And if you calculate this value, you will get that as 1.86 into 10 power minus 21 joule, right? And the noise power Pn can be written as 1.86 into 10 power minus 21 into 36 into 10 power 6, which is the value as 0.067 picowatts. So in addition to these normal thermal noise sources, intermodulation distortion in high power amplifiers can also result in signal products which appears as noise, and in fact it is referred as intermodulation noise. Okay, thank you.